This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
The Black Swan murder trial of Ashley Benefield, it starts up this week, and there's a lot to go through, a lot that's going to be presented to a jury, and we'll see exactly how they come out with their opinions. As you remember, there's been some judges that have used the terms "not one scintilla of truth" to your story, Ashley. We'll see if a jury feels the same way, as those are just pieces of this whole case. Joining me to discuss, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. All right, big overview on this one. What's your feelings going into this case?
Well, the interesting thing about like Benefield in a lot of Florida cases is when you have these types of situations where somebody shoots another person, they have the stand your ground law there. So we always, in these types of cases, get the opportunity to kind of hear, in when this circumstance, they had filed their motion, basically saying to dismiss the charges because they couldn't bring it under, the stand your ground law, that, he came into her house, she felt threatened, and she was standing her ground. That was, of course, rejected by the courts, which goes back to some of the comments that you're talking about. So, in terms of being able to employ the defense, they can still make the arguments, right? It's still going to be the same story, that they got into it. She felt like her life was in danger and she ended up shooting him. It's like you said, whether or not the jury is going to buy it is ultimately what it's going to lean on. And they'll try to get in as much background as they can about like him shooting into the ceiling and, just the various things that went on. It was a very short courting period, dude. 13 days, man. And then they're getting hitched. She was significantly younger. His daughter, I think her name's Eva, was not a fan. Not a fan of the marriage, not necessarily a fan of Benefield herself. So it's going to be an interesting trial. It really is.
The fact that Doug really doesn't have or didn't have much of a history of violence or anything of that nature. He has a daughter that loves him, adores him. Typically, I get, there's nothing typical about a murder, but I guess typically if you're to say, somebody who has kind of a history like that, you don't genuinely have the adoring daughter that's there. You typically don't have a lot of friends who are right there, ready to say, this is no one that we would recognize the way he's being described. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, that's a whole other thing. But right. Impulsivity is a big part of this, judging by those 13 days. And trying to get some attention seems to be a bit of a history here with Ashley.
Yeah, agreed. And, there's a record in terms of court records. She had made allegations against him, which I don't think were proven. Mm-hmm. They certainly weren't proven criminally with a beyond reasonable doubt standard that she had felt that he was trying to poison her. The one thing that we know did happen is he did discharge his weapon into the ceiling, like when they were. So, there's some stuff there. It always becomes the thing, like, are you just using a couple of, or like one isolated incident, where things got a little heated and, trying to parlay that into, backing up your story that, sure, was coming in threatening her life. Cases like this are tough. Yeah, they just are, because, the only people that were there are the only people that know what happened, for sure. And obviously Doug is not there to give his side of this thing. Sure. So, we're talking about, basically Ashley, and I think her mom at the house.
Her mom was out at a park when the shooting took place. She took the daughter out, and then that's when this all took place.
See that kind of that right? That smells a little bit.
It smells a little bit. I think the digital footprint that we're going to see here, once we take a look at text messages between Ashley and mom, are going to be revealing. I think they will be, at least. I hope if it's beyond just hey, I'm taking her to the park. I'll be back in an hour. If there's more to it, if there's Ashley saying, why didn't you guys go to the park, or has anything beyond that, I think it's going to look a little suspicious.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, we know that the state has looked through, the state understands how tough these cases are.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. The state is not in the business of going in and getting their ass handed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Typically if they're going to charge a case, they're pretty confident that they can meet that burden.
Yeah.
So that being said, they clearly feel that they have enough evidence, because if it's just she said, and there's no one to rebut her, that's a very difficult case for the state to win, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to have some other circumstantial evidence that they feel is powerful enough.
Yeah.
To say, all right, well, I know what she's saying to you in court, but this is what she was texting. This is what was going on. And circumstantially, just use your common sense. Clearly, this was a setup. It kind of smells like the whole Charles Vallow thing that happened with Lori Vallow and her brother Alex, except Alex was the one doing the dirty deeds.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that, taking the kids out to go, run errands, and all this takes place while she's gone. And then they go back to the, so I don't. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting trial. I'm actually I'm really interested to watch it.
Want more of the podcast without the ads?
Then hit subscribe to the True Crime Today Premium Plus channel on Apple Podcasts.
Try it now for 3 days, absolutely free.
You'll get access to all of our extended advance ad-free episodes instantly.
So you can binge without the break. True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Search and subscribe now on Apple Podcasts.